Hey guys, Noah Baldy here again with another podcast. And today I'm by myself because it's in the middle of the day and my guest Izzy has school, so it's just gonna be me today. But this is just gonna be a quick podcast, um, around 10 to 15 minutes long. I've been I've been pretty sick lately. I've had a really sore throat, so I haven't really been in the talking mood lately, but today I wanted to do a short little podcast about um, movie ratings and not like box office or like Rotten Tomatoes or anything. I mean like rated R, like PG-13 kind of ratings. What uh what age group the movie is intended for, and a little backstory. The I did some research and I found out that the first rated R movie was called The Split in November of 1968, and it's a neo noir crime thriller, so it's like a black and white, like super dark crime movie. And um at the time there was no really ratings back then, and so instead of it being targeted towards everyone, they made the rated R because there was already at the time there was already like not necessarily rated PG, but it was more of a movies were kind of made for everyone kind of thing, and they made the rated R rating to infer that this movie is very dark and like very drama heavy, and it's not intended for kids, and that's basically the origin of rated R. But then the origin of rated PG-13, which is for the ages between like 13 and up. You could say 13, 14, something like that. And the first PG-13 movie was called Red Dawn in August of 1984, and it's an action film. But the reason they created PG-13 is because at the time rated R movies were so bad, where it's like no, like only people 17 years and up should watch this film because they're not gonna get it. They're just gonna be grossed out. That's why rated R was made. But rated PG-13 was supposed to be the middle ground, and from PG, like families can watch it, kids can watch it, and rated R where it's kids. This is not a good family film. Kids should stay away from this movie. It is not good for young eyes. And I think a perfect example of why the PG-13 rating was made is Jaws. And the Jaws, if you look it up, is rated PG. And in today's standards, you would not think that a thriller like Jaws, should be rated PG, where young kids can go in the theater by themselves and watch it, you know. But at the time, PG-13 wasn't a thing. When did Jaws release? 1978, right? 1975. So yeah, the PG-13 rating wasn't even a thing. But but back then, Jaws was not nearly at the level of what rated R should be. Cause because if you look at it, like rated R movies back in the 70s through like 60s, 70s, a little bit into the 80s, they were very gory, bloody, you know, nudity every couple minutes, like guts, terrible. And Jaws really didn't have any of that kind of insane, gory violence, and that's one thing that really makes a horror movie, or not a horror, a rated R movie, is gore and language and nudity. Nudity kind of, but nudity can kind of scrape under into PG-13 under certain circumstances. And the rating is really all about critics or like what the a filmmaker will go into a movie or story, I guess you could say, knowing that the film is going to be rated R, and they know that the R rating won't prohibit their storytelling. But when you're making a movie PG-13, then there's obviously some limitations with um, bad language and stuff, and the de- the holy the definition of sorry about that. The definition of a rated R movie is rated R is intended for people 17 and up, so adults, and um, it's it's categorized in like films that have material that's like very violent and there's strong language. I think a common word that makes movies rated R is either slurs or the F word are the two main, and the F word can really make or break because if you watch a PG-13 movie, they might flip the bird once, and they might like say the F word once, and that's completely fine. But once you say the F word two times and in a violent or sexual manner, then it automatically will boost boost what the movie should be over 17. And yeah, nudity is kind of a weird middle ground because not necessarily nudity will make a movie um, into a rated R movie, but if it's more prominent nudity, like a full sex scene, where the both people are completely naked and it's super like intimate and stuff like that, that's it's not really more about the nudity than the sexual content, where it's explicit sexual scenes, sexual violence, or like a scene that has very prominent and sensual nudity in it, where it's the main focus of the scene. And the main reason I want to talk about this today is because I'm seeing a lot of movies or a lot of people on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. It's all over the place, but there's a movie coming out called The Backrooms, and if you haven't heard about The Backrooms, the Backrooms essentially started as a YouTube series where this guy, if you don't know what it is, please check it out because it's really good. But just search up The Backrooms on YouTube, and you'll go down an entire rabbit hole of super good content. But it's essentially a horror series where it's like liminal spaces, um, and it's kind of got no like real direction to it. It's more of experiencing the horror of the back rooms, and there's a ton of stories and lore about all the back rooms and stuff. It's a really interesting topic, and I might make a podcast about it at a later date because the back rooms itself is a very very broad topic to talk about. So I'm not gonna try to delve too deep into it. All you should know is that it's a psychological horror series about liminal spaces, and it's kind of the main fear about the back rooms is that it's unknown. It's kind of like being scared of the dark, where you're not scared of the actual dark, you're scared of what might be in the dark, and that's kind of what the back rooms are, where you're not really scared of walking through these hallways and these liminal spaces and stuff, but you're scared of what might be in, what kind of creature or person are within the back rooms. So it's a really interesting series. Please check it out if you have time. Just search up Backrooms and watch some of the more popular videos that are actually about the Backrooms, like the actual series itself. It's really interesting and it's really spooky. I will admit it's pretty scary. But there's a movie coming out in it's supposed to be early 2026. I'm not sure if the it's for sure coming out in 2026 as of now, but I think there might be some pushbacks or something with it. But there is a movie about the Backrooms coming out in 2026, and fans are pretty mad about it because it's allegedly going to be PG-13 instead of an A rated R. And many fan and analysts anticipate an R rating, but the makers of the Backroom and some of the critics and stuff like that are saying that it's going to be PG-13. And everything that I've seen on YouTube and some stuff on TikTok and Instagram, people are not happy about the PG-13 rating. And that's the main thing I want to talk about in this podcast is you don't need a rated R movie to have a because the Backrooms is all about like scare. It's a scary experience, and you're not really there's not much character or like action or any of that. It's strictly psychological horror. It's the Backrooms were made to be scary, and the fact that people are expecting some kind of gore or whatever it may be that they think an R rating is appropriate. Um, besides like besides like maybe a little bit of gore, maybe a little bit of language. I personally don't think the Backrooms movie should be rated R, and the fact that people are mad that it's not rated R is absurd. Um, a rated R movie does not equal a scary movie. You can have an absolutely terrifying movie and have it be PG-13. Um, and because the only thing in a scary movie besides like a Halloween or Friday the 13th movie where there's a full blown 5 minute long sex scene, um, the only real factors that could make a movie like The Backrooms rated R is gore or language, like specifically like blood, lots of blood, and um like a few f bombs, right? That those are the only two factors that could make a movie like The Backrooms rated R. And it's all it. There's a ton of things about it where people are complaining about it being PG-13, but the fact that people want it to be PG-13 or rated R, it's absurd because because a scary movie does not have to be gory or have explicit language. Um, because gore specifically won't enhance a movie, especially a movie like The Backrooms. It's psychological horror. Like to take The Shining for example. Besides the elevator scene where blood is like a tsunami out of the elevator, besides that scene, there's not any explicit gore in The Shining. And The Shining is easily one of the scariest movies of all time. And besides the one elevator scene, there's like no gore at all. Like not in the sense of like blood and guts gore. You know what I mean? And you can have a movie that is scary without it being explicit. And the Backrooms is a liminal space experience. It's psychological. You don't need monsters and stuff chasing you down and then like ripping people in half or whatever. Like that's what they're expecting. And it it makes me pretty mad that people are complaining about the rating of a movie and they're expecting a certain rating when it's not up to them. It's it's not even really up to the filmmakers themselves. But yeah, that just really makes me mad. And but the fact that people are wanting it to be rated R because they want it to be gory, I guess. Gore almost like 90% of the time will not enhance a movie. Sure, it'll make it scary and it'll like raise the stakes a little bit, whatever it may be. But gore itself, like blood and guts and killing people, that will not enhance a movie at all. And but gore can enhance some movies, I will admit. A perfect example of gore enhancing a movie, I would say, is the 2017 movie Logan, where if you haven't seen the movie, it's the superhero Wolverine is old and like the he's in the future and it's all decrepit and crappy and stuff. But that movie is uses gore perfectly because it's meant to show how like how do I say this? The gore in Logan is used to show the tone and the like condition of the future. Cuz yeah, I think it takes place in like 2029 or so, like a not a distant future but like a relatively soon future, and it's a very sad and kind of depressing movie, but it uses gore very well when setting a tone. And you know it's Wolverine like using his claws to stab a dude in the head. Like it's gory and people will go, "Oh my gosh, that is so terrible." But it enhances the spirit, the it enhances the experience because you're going, "Oh my gosh, that is so bad and gross." That is what you're supposed to feel because that's what Logan's feeling because he's an old man that that is decrepit and sad, and all he wants to do is all he really wants to do is just like survive. And what he has to do to survive is all this cutting off arms and stuff. And it enhances the movie a ton. If Logan the movie did not have as much gore as it did, it would not be as good of a movie because the gore is used as such a good tone setter. I mean, it's really hard to explain. But you take a movie like Friday the 13th, and you have like Jason Voorhees splitting guys' stomachs open and their guts are falling out. That's not really setting any tone. That's more of a shock value instead of enhancing the experience. And that's the difference people don't understand is that gore 90% of the time is used for the shock value of it instead of enhancing the experience or setting a tone or mood, whatever it may be. I think a lot of war movies do a good job at setting tones and moods using gore. Especially like what's a good example? Like Saving Private Ryan. I'd say that movie opens up with D-Day, one of the most violent war efforts, battles, whatever you call it, out there that in history. And it opens with that, and that sets the perfect mood for the rest of the movie, where it's desperate, it's violent, it's scary. War is scary, and they're trying to save this. They're trying to save Ryan, but after the events at D-Day, like it's scary. Like it's not going to be easy to save this guy because of because it opens up with that D-Day scene and it sets the perfect mood and the perfect tone to for the stakes of the movie. And I don't necessarily think that. because a common misconception about movies is um good movies are only rated R, and in the sense of you can only have a mature, serious, like jaw dropping movie if it is adult rated R. And that's not true at all. That can be any farther from the truth because you have movies like, what's a good example of a PG movie? Like the Into the Spider Verse. If you haven't seen that movie, I highly recommend it. But obviously, it's a superhero movie. It's made for kids, but it's better than a lot of rated R movies. And the fact that it's not technically made for kids, but it's targeted towards kids where kids will enjoy it more than adults do. But there are still tons and tons of adults that love that movie because just because it's PG doesn't mean it's not good storytelling. Like just because the target audience is children and families doesn't mean it's a bad movie, or not a bad movie, but doesn't mean that if it were to be rated R it would be any better. Because the only thing that would make a movie like that rated R is violence, I guess. And people are so dependent on their movie being moody and violent and like unforgiving. People don't realize that a good story does not need to have any of that. And I feel like that's a perfect example with things like Steven Spielberg or George Lucas. Like Steven Spielberg, that's Jurassic Park, E.T. Like he has some of the greatest directorial debuts ever. Like he has directed and created some of the best movies and stories to ever exist, and none of them are rated R. I think George, or not George Lucas, Steven Spielberg might have a a rated R movie. Let me just look it up real quick. Does Steven Spielberg have rated R movies? Because he directed Piranha, right? Oh yeah. Oh, I was just talking about Saving Private Ryan. But movies like Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan. I already talked about Saving Private Ryan. But Schindler's List, if you haven't seen it, is a movie about the Holocaust. And I don't really want to delve too deep into it because if it's kind of a soft topic, but it's a film basically about the Holocaust and um uh Jews and all that. I'm not gonna delve into it, but that also sets the mood. It's not like people see Schindler's List as rated R, and they'll think it's gonna be violent, unforgiving, and all that, whatever you may think. But it only uses the R rating to um enhance the feeling of the movie. And to be fair, these movies were made before the PG-13 rating, or weren't made before the PG-13 rating, but um it was before the PG-13 rating was really taken seriously, and like major, like how the MCU is all like PG-13 movies. It was before that was really like a mainstream kind of rating and all that. But they're also like very dramatic, and they're intense, and you could say they have like they have pretty some violent content, but they're very dramatic and intense movies that the only reason they're rated R is because of those factors that anyone below the age of 17 probably won't even understand them. And yeah, that's that's all I really want to talk about today. I just saw a few people online talking about the fact that the Backrooms movie is not rated R and they're mad about it. And the fact is that when people slap a rated R rating onto a movie, there a lot of people are less likely to go see it. That's why the highest grossing movies in the world are either PG or PG-13. Rated R movies really, especially like gory horror movies, if your movie is rated R and has a demographic of above 18, the your movie is not going to make a whole lot. That's why PG and PG-13 movies own the box office, is because, kids, families, there's so many people that are able to go see those movies. And obviously, like, some of the best movies ever are recognized and are rated R movies. But that's a whole different thing with box office and all that. And yeah, that's that's all I really wanted to talk about today. One thing you could take away from this podcast, I guess, is that a movie's rating, in the sense of like Rotten Tomatoes, what people think of it, and which I kind of delved into in an earlier podcast. But the movie's rating, like Rotten Tomatoes, and a movie's rating like PG-13 or rated R, does not really matter. You should get your own experience from a movie. You should think your own thoughts of a movie or film or story, I mean, whatever it may be, show. Um, but the fact that people want a movie to be rated R for no reason really, it just makes me mad. And I just want people to be more informed that about that kind of stuff, where people automatically think that I'll rate it if a movie's not rated R, it's gonna be kiddie, and people aren't gonna take it seriously, and that's just not the case at all. And it just really grinds my gears that that kind of thing is happening. But I'm gonna wrap this podcast up here. My voice is almost gone. My throat is in extreme pain. But I wanted to get this out. It's also due like today, so I had to get it done. But yeah, I just saw something online and I really wanted to talk about it. So hope you enjoyed today's podcast. It was kind of a little bit of a shorter one, but I was able to talk for a while. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for more podcasts and possibly vlogs in the future. Not sure yet. Nothing's decided. Kind of just go with the flow. But yeah, thanks for listening.